everyone. I hope you are all doing very well. I'm sorry I haven't been around doing these reviews lately, but school gets in the way. The French Open has already been going on for almost a week, and this is my first video about it. But that's when school can get busy. But don't fret, I am here now. And I'm going to be reviewing the first and second round results and what kind of really stands out to me of this year's French Open. So, there's a few major trends I see just right off the bat. First of all, on the men's side, the qualifiers. Really watch out for these qualifiers. They are doing very well. And then on the women's side, it's kind of a hot mess right now. So I'll get into why I think that when I get there. But let's start on the men's draw. So nothing super dramatic has happened on the men's side, except for Medvedev losing in the first round. So we all know Medvedev got to the semifinals of this year's US Open. He was playing amazing. For me, when I watch him play, it's almost like he's invincible and there's really no way you can beat him. However, he did lose first round. He lost to Fucsovics, who is now into the third round, who is going to be playing Monteiro. Which, like both names, not very familiar to a lot of people, but that's what's really exciting about the men's draw right now. Even though we have the familiar Wawrinka, Djokovic, Nadal, we have a lot of new up-and-comers coming in. Another really interesting result is that a qualifier, Altmaier from Germany, beat Feliciano Lopez in the first round and is now into the third round, where he'll be playing Berrettini, who I've done my match analysis on him. We know he's good, so that'll be a hard match. But that's very exciting that a qualifier is into the third round. Another really interesting event that has happened is today, Denis Shapovalov was playing Roberto Corbella's Baena, and something really interesting happened, and this is an issue that I think a lot of people are going to start talking about more and more as this keeps happening. So Shapovalov was up 5-4, 30-15 in the fifth set. Corbella's Baena hit a ball that was out, but the ref called it in. And Shapovalov was very upset. He was like, no, that was out, I swear. And the ref was like, no, it was in. The commentator showed Hawkeye review to the audience, or the audience on TV, and it was indeed out, which would have brought Shapovalov to 5-4, 40-15, up two match points in the fifth set. But instead it went to 30-all, and Shapovalov lost the match. And I think people are like, oh, one ball can't really decide the whole match, but in this situation, in that part of the match, that I think really could have done it for him. I mean, if he was up 40-15, two chances to win the match right there. I think that Shapovalov would have won that match. So that is a very interesting topic. Why don't we have Hawkeye on clay courts? And I know there's, reasons, but are they good enough? That's the question. I think we should still have it. Other than that, the usuals are into the third round, like Djokovic, Kachana, Bautista Agut is going to be playing Carreño Busta, which will be a good match. Rublev's going to be playing Anderson, Dimitrov, Tsitsipas, they're all in it. Still the usuals, but these qualifiers are, doing well. And speaking of qualifiers, we have another one. We have Cecchinato from Italy. He was a qualifier. He beat de Minaur in the first set in straight sets, and now he's into the third round also. And he'll be playing Zverev. But still, that's amazing, right? We also got another qualifier. We got Sebastian Korda into the third round. He's been on fire. He beat Seppi and then Isner. So that's an amazing result for such a young American like Korda. Other than that, another interesting first round match was Evans versus Nishikori. We know Nishikori had a really bad injury last year. He was out the entire year. Evans has really been working his way back up. He was the 32 ranked player in this tournament. Nishikori ended up winning that match. It was a very intense match. However, Nishikori then went on to lose in the next round. So I think it's okay. Nishikori is a very solid player. This is his first major back from a very long injury break. So hopefully we'll see him doing well in majors in the future. Other than that, Nadal is still in, guys. I'm very nervous for this French Open in general, just because there's so many great players. And even though I love Nadal and I do believe that he will win it, I'm uncertain at how much my belief will come true in this tournament. Just because Nadal is getting older and there's a lot of youngsters who are playing really well right now. And not a youngster, but Djokovic obviously will always be a threat to my beloved Nadal. So that will be an interesting thing to see when I do my next review. If Nadal's still in the tournament, let's hope he is. Other than that, Wawrinka beat Murray in the first round quite easily. So even though it was a big headline, Murray's just not the same, unfortunately. But yeah, so we got Wawrinka still in, Schwartzman still in, Fritz is still in. Sinner, watch out for Sinner. He is an Italian as well. All these Italians are doing great, but Sinner is going to be playing Coria in the third round. But he is playing really well. My dad thinks he's an amazing player, so watch out for him. Usually my dad's been right. He was right with Brady in the US Open that she'd get far. So anyways, that's kind of the main thing on the men's side. The sad result is that Monfils lost in the second round. Actually, no, in the first round, sorry. He lost to Bublik, which is sad because everyone loves Monfils. It's the French Open. But unfortunately, he did lose. But other than that, that's kind of the men's side. I think the main thing is just that all these qualifiers are really doing well and that these youngsters are kind of starting to become a threat for these older players who have been around for a while. So things are really starting to change on the men's side. I remember when it used to be just, Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, every single tournament. But now, I don't think people really feel that anymore. I think it's a shifting tide, or whatever it's called, has come. So let's move on to the women's draw. So the women's draw is what's kind of been up and down for me, and I'm a little disappointed in some players, and I'll get to that. But yeah, let me find it. Got a lot of sheets over here. So, first of all, we got Halep, Anisimova playing in the third round. That'll be really interesting. Bouchard is still in, which is good. This is, she's getting farther into the tournaments like she used to. We got a qualifier, Trevisan, who beat Goff. And what's interesting about that is that Goff beat Konta in the first round, and that was a really good match. I'm like, maybe Goff is okay playing without too much of an audience. But it still kind of holds true because then Goff lost to a qualifier. And her attitude, I think, will just really improve once there's a crowd. I think, especially since she's so young, that crowd really cheers her on. So right now, I don't think Goff's going to have the best results, like I said, in the US Open this year as well. But once the crowds come again, I think she'll be a threat again for a lot of people. So Trevisan's going to be playing Sakkari in the third round, which will be a good matchup. We got Anna Karolina Schmiedlova, who has beaten two veterans who are very good. In the first round, she beat Venus, and then in the second round, she beat Azarenka, 2-2. 2-2. So she's into the third round. She's going to be playing Podoroska. So that will be interesting. It seems like Podoroska actually was a qualifier, another qualifier. But yeah, so watch out for Schmiedlova. She's been beating some really good players to get into the third round. And another kind of headline moment is that Serena did withdraw from this year's French Open after she won her first round because of an Achilles injury. She was going to be facing Pironkova, so now Pironkova is moving on to the third round where she'll be playing Krejcikova. I'm really just not doing well with these pronunciations, I'm sorry. Other than that, for the first half of the draw, Svitolina still in, Garcia still in, a French favorite. So it's, still some really interesting matchups. But in the bottom half of the draw, this is where I kind of want to talk about the person that I was mentioning about, like, the bad attitude is Sofia Kenin. I was really disappointed when I watched her match today. She won in 3 sets against Bogdan, but in the third set, she was up by so much, and she had a few match points, and then all of a sudden, after losing, she was up 40-11 a game, right? Game to win the match. And she lost one of them. So then it would have just been 40-15. She would have had 2 more match points. But she got so upset. Her negativity just projected everywhere. It was not fun to watch. She ended up losing that game after having those 3 match points. And then she had to go and serve for the match. And it was a very up and down game. Every point she won, she would still look upset. And it was just not good to watch. You really have to make sure you stay positive in these matches. And I think that that's really holding her back. Her first 2 matches at this Grand Slam has been 3-setters. And I think a lot of it has to do with her attitude because she's an amazing player. So she really has to fix that attitude moving forward into this tournament. Also, another thing is that even when she won the match, she was still upset. She was still shaking her head. She looked like she was about to cry. Like, she has to remember her position. I think, she's seeded. What's her seed? She is the 4 seed in the French Open. She really has to really change her perspective, and I think that once she stays positive and calm, I think she'll do a lot better, because when she was the underdog, she beat Serena. She won a Grand Slam, but now that she's won that Grand Slam, she's no longer that underdog, and I think she has too much pressure on herself. She really has to just calm down and just focus on every point and stay positive. I think that's a really big thing for her, is staying positive. So I would watch out for that. She's playing Barra in the 3rd round to see how her attitude is, because first 2 rounds was a little iffy. Another thing is that Shuai Zhang beat Madison Keys in the 1st round, which, I mean, I had Madison Keys winning the US Open, but she did have to withdraw from the match because of an injury. And then she lost in the 1st round here, so I don't know if it's still the injury. I'm not sure, but Madison Keys did lose in the 1st round, and then Zhang went on to beat Cornet. So she's into the 3rd round. The last major headline for the women is that Yelena Ostapenko, who was the 2017 French Open champion, she beat Pliskova in the 2nd round, 4-2. So Ostapenko's into the 3rd round. I think the 2 big things is that both Bouchard and Ostapenko are into the 3rd round, which for me, that's very exciting to see, because both of them are always struggling currently to get into those 3rd, 4th rounds of Grand Slams. So I think that's very optimistic to see. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Everyone else that you would expect to be in the 3rd round is in the 3rd round. We got Muguruza, we got Sabalenka, we got Kvitova, we got Siegmund, who had a really interesting match against Mladenovic in the 1st round, but Siegmund's on to the 3rd round now. And other than that, it's going to be a really interesting 3rd round tomorrow. The reason why I'm filming it at night and posting it tonight is because time difference. I'll probably still be sleeping when the first matches start tomorrow. But it was a very exciting first 2 rounds of tennis, and it's only been 2 rounds. We still have many more to go. I hope everyone continues to pray for Nadal and that he can still win this French Open, even though I'll be fine if other people win it, but not really. And then on the women's side, let's see if Kenin starts to have more of a positive attitude. And we'll see if Ostapenko and Bouchard can get even farther in this tournament, because I think those are really exciting stories to see. Now that Serena's out, also, a lot of windows have opened. Maybe for Halep or Muguruza. We'll have to see. But anyways, I don't want to keep talking. I hope you guys enjoyed this rounds 1 and 2 review of the 2020 French Open. And please don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more reviews, match analysis, tips, advice, and I'll see you guys next time.